This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation.
Look at the baby, look. Hi, Puma. Hey, Puma. Puma. You trying to jump? All right, let me move this. Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to record this process because it's meaningful to me. So my first recital is tomorrow, and I'm an adult. So I never really had the chance as a dancer. Like, even though I've been dancing since my pre-adolescence, I didn't really have that like studio, costumes, makeup. Like, I didn't have that experience. My experience was more like very lateral. Like, I would gather around with my homegirls and we would make up dances until I started being appointed the dance maker. And then history was made. Like, I just kept being the choreographer forever. Fast forward to 2025, I'm still the motherfucking choreographer. And I'm like, no, I need some foundational, just sort of, I think my inner child needs some foundational training in that way. You know what I mean? And not the type of training that professional dancers get at over the age of 21. I'm talking about like that community feeling that happens, you know, right around like in these studios, right around like middle school, high school, where you have teachers that pour into you. You have a series of teachers that just pour into you. And you're around the same people consistently. Like, you get to build, you get to kind of see yourself grow. All other variables are kept the same, right? The same place, the same set of teachers, the same people, right? I feel like when we get to adulthood, training becomes very scattered. You know what I mean? It's like you can take a drop-in class here and there. You can, for me, my training was a lot of like being in people's processes. Like, that's where I received all my training, more or less all my training, and then drop-in classes. But I'm talking about that, like, y'all know what I mean. Anyway, fast forward to right now, when tomorrow I have my first recital ever. It's with Second Chance Dance, a studio here in Philly that is literally what its title says. It's another chance for adults to be treated to the type of attention, you know, that mostly young people get when it comes to dance. So I'm gonna show how I'm packing my costume bag for tomorrow. Puma's helping me out. Hello, Puma, cutie pie. So, all right, so I'm about to try on my tights. Okay, that color seems okay. A little off, but I think it's the same color as my ballet tights. And I'm basically just organizing. There should be so I'm in 4 different dances. I'm in jazz, modern, African, and ballet. So I have 4 different costumes in here. So I'm just gonna organize them in order, try them on. There's a couple of quick changes, so I'm gonna go ahead and practice those. But yeah, I just wanted to like show myself in each of the costumes and give this moment a little, you know, commemoration. Okay, so organized them. Okay, tights, you don't need to see that. So first is jazz, then ballet, modern, and African. Okay. Love her again. I'm home. Puma.
This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation.
My name is Tajah Ebram. The date is March 19th, 2025. And yeah, I'm doing good. It's a beautiful, warm day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easing into the spring, slowly but surely. Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to talk to you about is 2025, which is a 9-year. And 9-year is the end of a cycle.
Okay.
And so I'm also asking people to maybe look at this time as, like, I'm curious about like what people feel like they're closing up, what might feel like is the end of a cycle for them. And so the question is, what's one like lesson that you've been working through this last cycle? Have there been any like shifts or things that have changed? Maybe you can think of it as something maybe you're letting go, I don't know, but something you've been maybe working inside of this last cycle that you feel like, oh yeah, all right, I have a grasp on that, or like I'm letting it go, or like, yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah. That's a great question. That I feel like I'm still thinking about. Yeah, I had to think about when 9 years ago was. I'm like, what was I even doing? 2016? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was in grad school.
Oh.
Trying to get a PhD. Well, I did get it. And I don't know. I feel like around that time, like, my like interests were being shaken up. My like investments in academia were being shaken up. Mostly from within me, like just feeling really resistant to the space and to like how I was supposed to be doing the work, and just also feeling like in some ways I didn't have like the temperament for how that kind of work gets done, and like academia as it relates to like professorship and producing academic scholarship at a certain rate, and just the close-offness of the information and scholarship. So, which doesn't always have to be the case, but I think like specifically the experience I was having was like those things felt really amplified. Yeah, so I think 9 years ago I was like starting to build community with like Black people and mostly Black women in my cohort, and also trying to build community really intentionally outside of like not wanting my whole world to be like within that world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like exploring Philadelphia and trying to learn from other people I was meeting, other like I guess Black spaces that I like going to and experiencing. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you feel like you are kind of now on that?
I think like I made some choices to start like stepping away from that world, some big choices.
Yeah.
One of them in like not being on a like 10-year professorship track, but also just like letting myself go deeper into these other interests that emerged. I'm really trying to think of the timeline, like 2016. What happened? I don't know.
Yeah. And what do you feel like you were responding to? Was there a need or desire that felt like it got like too loud to ignore? Did you feel like there was a clear shift where you were like, oh, this academic world, like, it's just not meeting my needs in these ways?
I mean, there wasn't like one moment. It was just like happening gradually.
Okay.
Over time, I guess. But I found myself wanting to like explore things and not always like wanting to explore or teach or like talk to students and talk to people about ideas or histories or just like Black cultural life, but not feeling like it had to live in the container of like an academic article or like research in the way that I was doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like having to write about it in a particular kind of way like just wasn't resonating with me. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up research, because I can say every time I've seen you in like facilitating sort of role, or like where you brought a group of people together for a specific purpose, it felt like a space of study too. Like it felt like it's clearly a space of where people could like engage in sort of collective research.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel forced or like institutionalized. It felt very close to the earth or ground, or like to what and who was in the room. And so I like that you said research, and I'm curious now what like how okay, so I'm gonna straight up just so you got into herbalism, right?
Yeah.
Like the moving into herbalism and how that helped you like kind of reach the levels of research that I feel like, or the methods of research that I feel like come very naturally to you.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I should have went back through my journals. Like, I'm really trying to paint a picture of this time. But yes.
The journals, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, the first thing I thought about when you were saying, like, the herbal, like, spaces that I've been creating do have, like, some level of study or, like, research, and they do. But I feel like from the classes I've taken, trolley tone, from like the classes I've taken or workshops or walks where I feel like I'm learning the most, it's like there's other ways of knowing that aren't, like you said, institutionalized, that excite me, like knowing that might not come through a written tradition, that might come through like an oral tradition, or from people like sharing their experiences and like creating knowledge in real time, and like knowledge that comes from like practicing something, like hands-on being in practice and like discovering from that place, which sometimes makes me feel like, oh, maybe I should have been like a botanist or scientist or like gone to school for something more in that realm. But I just never, like, it never occurred to me, or maybe was never even like made an option to me as a younger person. But that's neither here nor there. So probably like 2017, I remember getting sick, like at the top of the year, like around my birthday. So like almost 9 years ago, 16 into 17. And like, I don't really know why, probably like going out, drinking, you know, my body probably wasn't eliminating things properly and quickly enough. Grad school diet, I don't know, whatever. But I went to then a herbalist that was on 48th and Spruce. His name's Ron. And he had a shop called the Herb Nook that's not there anymore. I think he moved and like practices at home now. But yeah, he gave me a tea, or he gave me herbs to make into a decoction, like to boil them, roots, burdock root and sarsaparilla, and maybe something else. And I had had some little experiences with herbs like as a younger person, but I drank that. I made it myself, you know. I had to boil it and like use his instructions. I made it myself at home, and like probably within like 2 days I was feeling really bad. Like if that didn't help me, like I would have been probably at the doctor or maybe the hospital within like the next few days, because it was like getting really bad, like flu-like. And yeah, in like 2 days I was like, oh, I feel way better. Not only do I feel better, but I felt better than I did before I got sick.
What?
Yeah.
I love, okay, yeah.
So
What?
I was like, oh, that like blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like it just like, if you could see like the top of your skull opening up and your brain's just like getting information directly. I felt like it opened my whole mind. And I was like, oh, I just used some plants that came out of the ground and did something that like I probably would have went, paid a copay, sat in the office, talked to a doctor who doesn't know me or respect me and probably never gonna see me again, got a prescription, you know, gone through all these parts of the medical system that didn't really want to have to deal with, just mainly out of the energy it takes to like interface, and then only to maybe feel better. So yeah, and probably taking a round of antibiotics that's gonna do all kinds of other things. Yeah, so yeah, that blew my mind. And I went back and was like bugging him and talking to him, like trying to apprentice with him, which didn't really end up happening, but that was like the beginning of something.
And how did you know to go to Ron? In this instance.
How did I know? I mean, I guess I had used herbs before in like other small ways, like for my period.
Okay.
And like vaginal health. I don't know why it feels so weird to say vaginal health in an interview. Vaginal health. Yeah, so I had gone to an herbalist before, but I didn't feel as connected to it, and I think I didn't feel as connected, even though it was a black woman herbalist in North Jersey, but she used more like capsule, like things were encapsulated, and it just like, it felt still like, there's something about this that still feels like, you know, like conventional medicine, like a tablet, you're just popping it, like there's not really a connection to the plant, even though it did work, but it felt more like a supplement, like something bottled up, than like, oh, I took a raw plant in its, you know, original state and made something healing. So yeah, knowing that first herbalist who had given me like capsule medicine made me like look around where I was living. Like this was like a couple blocks from my house. I had seen this shop before, and I was like, oh, let me just go in and see what he has. So yeah, that happened almost 9 years ago. That's and that just opened up like a whole world, and something about engaging with the physical plant, like what changed something. Like it wasn't my first time at an herbalist, but it just like opened up something completely different. Oh my god.
This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation.
Yeah.
That origin story just made a lot of things makes sense for me about seeing you hold space. Like what you share with others is that like hands-on ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's sort of the medicine part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so... Tajah's wild, because when I was watching the footage, I added a question about like what, because it was so clear that you just knew the importance of people gathering around and making, like working with the plants and making their own medicine. It's like, it just seemed like it just, hopefully like people hearing this or watching this, right, I can see what I'm talking about with the image of really the circle, and that as a type of ritual and ceremony. And I'm wondering if you could put into words, why is that important? Like, why is that type of gathering and contact with the plant and the ritual of it? Like, why do you see that as important?
Yeah. The gathering part, or the working with the physical plant, or all of it?
I would say gathering around making medicine.
Yeah. Another great question. I wanted to talk about this. So for the original question you asked me, I wrote down like that I've learned in the last 9 years, like that part of healing happens in community. And I think that's what feels important to me about gathering literally in a circle, like this closed space. Not that it's like closed in an exclusive way, but closed in like a sacred way. Like we're about to cultivate something here, and we've created the space no matter where we are. We're outside, we're in the home, we're in a community space. Like something is created when people gather in circle and commit to the intention of like making it a sacred space, making it a caring space. One of my friends and mentors kind of has said like we can't guarantee like safety necessarily, but we can guarantee care in those kinds of spaces. So that's what I aim for, is like this is a container and a gathering ground in this moment, and we can do that for each other, if nothing else. Like, so yeah, knowing that community is a place where healing can happen, where we can like learn from each other's experiences and just learn from sharing our own experience. Like the I guess act of like verbalizing something that you're grappling with or trying to process, even if you don't have all the information about it or know what to do next, like being able to voice it and express it in a space that feels caring and like has some level of confidentiality around it, and like putting the vibration behind it, like articulating whatever the it is. Like, I'm working on this part of myself, or I don't feel good about this part of myself, or I'm healing this thing, and just feeling like witnessed feels really powerful. So I like that part of gathering in that way. And I think like making medicine in community, like I was saying in the workshop, just feels really important. Like, like the community is the medicine. So it's the herbs, but it's also the energy of the people that you got to do it with, the feeling of togetherness and not feeling isolated, like feeling connected, if only for that moment, and like creating a thing from that connection feels really healing too. Like, I don't know, people might not actually use the herbs that they make in the workshop. They might just like sit on the counter for months, but like the experience of like sitting with people and creating something feels like, hopefully it like awakens something in people to like tap into that creativity in other spaces, but also again just like feel held, feel witnessed. Yeah, and like they're not alone. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer, because it just opened up a million other questions. But so that time when you were sick, and you were in your home space making the herbs for yourself, did you feel a sense of not aloneness? Like, I'm just thinking about that ritual of the hands on the plants, and like, and then taking the medicine that you made. Like, do you feel that there's this is getting abstract, but there's like a circle happening in that moment at all too? Or
yeah, I guess so, in a way. Like, the physical plants being there, it's like I could connect that more easily to like a living thing versus like, you know, when they capsule the herbs, like they've powdered them, they've gone through all these processes, and then like you're there's a barrier, literally, like it's in a capsule, but like there's a barrier, like you didn't get to see the original thing. But like seeing the actual roots, touching them, putting them in water, and like seeing the water transform, seeing the plant transform, it absorbs the water, it gets bigger, it loses, you know, like it gives things to the water, things change color. Like, yeah, I think I got to see like a process happen, and just be with the actual plant that I can connect to. Like, oh, I can see this in nature. Then it made me want to learn, like, become someone who like can ID plants, and that led me down a road of like meeting herbalists who do plant walks and seeing like, oh, this is burdock root, I've been encountering you all this time, like I see you every day and I didn't know you, but now I do.
Tears in my eyes.
So yeah, it is like it is a community. Like, then realizing like, oh, this plant's been outside my front door this whole time, kind of like a little nudge to like take care of your liver, you know, help your body move things through. So yeah, I think community in that sense of like working with the live plant, experiencing the energy of that living thing, and also then getting to encounter it in nature, and like that sense of being with the plants, having community with the plants, continuing. And it also felt like a community with the herbalists too. Like, you know, he asked me questions about not just like what's happening with this one specific thing, but like, are you stressed? How's your diet? How much water have you been drinking? You know, it's wintertime. Do you dress for the season or do you dress for the weather? Like, all these things. Like, now this person knows me by name. I can walk in and ask questions. And they have a whole knowledge and relationship to the plants that I get to like learn from too. So yeah, I do feel like there's some community.
Okay, so seems like a big lesson was that healing happens with others, or in the presence of, and I'm now curious about where the beginnings of the lavender room, where can you pinpoint where maybe you saw the seeds of that space, that practice? Like, when did that start? If you could talk about what the lavender room is.
Okay. Okay, I'll say what the lavender room is.
Okay.
And I'll start by saying it's evolving in real time. So, you know, just everybody keep that in mind. But it's a project that I started to kind of like have a container for my like herbal study and practice. So it's an apothecary and a library that technically is mobile. It's in my house. You know, the apothecary part of it, the library part of it, but I also like pop up in different spaces. At the community farms and gardens where I've worked, currently Reentry Community Farm, and also like at black marketplaces in Philly, like vending and also bringing books and things where people can just like hang out and read books related to black history and wellness, or, you know, have tea. I consider the Lavender Room like a gathering space for like retreat for black people especially, and black women in particular. For retreat, for ritual, for connection, for the community gathering. Like, basically, whatever herbal thing I'm doing, it's the Lavender Room. Wherever I am, the Lavender Room is also. A space for me to, like, teach and keep learning about herbalism, for people to share their knowledge of herbalism and study together and make medicine together. And then what was the second part?
Where did it start? Like, where and why?
I guess like officially, like my first thing that I did that I called a Lavender Room activity was in 2022.
Okay.
Which is when I vended for the first time at the Uhuru Market in Clark Park, which happened here where we are.
We're in Clark Park right now.
Yeah. And that's like a black, like African people's marketplace where like lots of vendors from Philly come and sell, you know, West African clothing, fabrics, and all kinds of wares and art and plants and, you know, all the things. But I feel like it didn't start then. Like, it definitely, the seeds were planted somewhere in this 9-year realm.
Right?
Yeah, like maybe in 2017 also, or 2018, but probably 2017. I wanted to hold like a sister circle at my house, and I gathered like other black women who were in my program or who I had met in Philly, like outside of my grad program, doing organizing work in Philly to around like freeing the Move 9, which insert move history here, I guess. Oh my gosh, can't even, that there's so much to be said about that, but like a collective of people who are like naturalists, environmentalists, that kind of emerged in the 1970s in Philadelphia, and sort of like trying to live more holistically, more naturally, eating raw food, composting, and also like challenging policing in the city. And there were 9 people at that time who were incarcerated from the MOVE organization for their like political activity and the ways that they went about protests. So I met someone through that organizing work for one of their conferences, and she and I like started building this circle because we talked about it. She had a similar vision and wanted to gather people, so we did. And I feel like that's probably like where things started to percolate for me. Like, I want to do this more. So I would say that's like the very beginnings of realizing like, oh, I like creating spaces for people to do what we did. We did yoga. We kind of like went around and talked and journaled and shared what we were all experiencing in our different walks at that time. We talked about our mothers. We talked about, you know, just like coming of age. A lot of us were in our 20s and early 30s at that time. And just like what it felt like to be black women, like living in this city. And it was a healing space. Like, none of us had really answers for each other, just like held the space for each other, and again, like witnessed each other and ate food together and nourished ourselves and shared some of the practices we use to take care of ourselves. So I would say that was like the first seed for the Lavender Room. And I think we did that a few more times. And I think over time the seed kept like being planted, like knowing I wanted to gather with Black folks around like history and culture, and then herbalism as well, all that, like and around just like taking care of ourselves, nurturing each other, and wanting to bring that all together, kind of. And then all that was happening alongside, like meeting more herbalists, learning from more herbalists, doing a yoga teacher training. And learning from like the Black wellness world of Philly, or like, I don't know, wellness is like overused now, but there's definitely like I'm realizing, Move is part of this history, or created this culture, but like there are other like elders in the city that I started to meet and learn from, who I'm like, oh, you've been eating vegan since like 1975, or just like eating consciously and being connected to plants, or being connected to plant healing, plant medicine, and all these things that felt really new, or like they were being they were becoming like less countercultural, or like the things that these people had blazed the trail for. So like at 46 in Baltimore, Atia Ola's Spirit First Foods, like I used to go in there a lot, and that's like, it was is a raw food, mostly raw food like restaurant. And Atia Ola's like a Black woman, elder, chef, and there are all these other Black chefs in there, making delicious food. And literally, like, I was like, oh, I feel the spirit, I feel the like love and energy in this food, and in the physical space. So I started to just like experience more spaces where I felt like just this like healing, nurturing spirit was there. And this tradition that was definitely older than me, definitely older than what's here now in West Philly, in terms of like the excitement around wellness and environmentalism. Like I started to see like, oh, this goes back some generations in this place. So that was exciting.
That's very exciting.
This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation.
I guess I'm curious about how the Lavender Room came from sort of a seed, or like an unformed sort of practice that was already happening, and that you were already experiencing in community with other herbalists, and or other just Black women who thought it was important to like center wellness gathering and like just, I guess, like healing. If you can even name like see what some of the steps were to like bringing it from this more nebulous practice, more like this practice, to this more concrete material thing.
That looks scary. I like a fish.
So I guess while the seeds were being planted, or like while I was learning more about herbalism, learning more about like how much I resonated with like the space, like creating spaces that felt nurturing to me in the city. I was also just always like, at that time, like talking to friends and being like, oh, I'm gonna open a cafe.
Period.
I'm gonna open a cafe, and it's gonna be like, it's gonna feel like this. It's gonna feel like Atiola's, or it's gonna feel like Uncle Bobby's, like these black spaces where you just go in and like it feels like home away from home, or like just the energy is right. I can't even describe it. I wish I could describe Atiola's when it was on 46. Like, it was like you walked inside and you went in like a portal. And there was a little bell that was over the front door, and it would like ring, and it was like literally like you got transported. The sun would like shine just right into the space. Like, it was just like really energizing. So anyway, I was always like envisioning like creating that kind of space, and like coming to friends and being like, let's do this project together. Like, let's have a bookmobile and like a library on wheels and just have all these black books in there. Or like, let's think about a cafe space of some kind, and like, which people were excited about, but I think I was most excited about. And eventually I was just like, let me do the thing that I keep like envisioning in these different ways. Like, how do I bring it together, and how do I just start doing it, even though like, you know, it's not a physical space right now, but it had, you know, we occupy spaces wherever, you know, an event or something is happening. But yeah, it's not everything that it will ultimately be right now, but like, I need to start. Like, it's in me, and I need to just like bring it forth and kind of give birth to it and let it be a baby for a while. So yeah. And at first it was gonna be called Aunt Ida's, because my aunt passed away in 2021, and that was like when I kind of was really like, okay, I want to grow herbs. Like, I think I had grown some things, like I think burdock root, because of the, like, that was one of my first herbs, or like first herbs that I work with, and like it's, you know, whole form. But yeah, I grew lavender that summer of 2021 after she passed, and it just felt really good to like take care of something. And she was a tea drinker, not necessarily herbal tea, but like she always had tea. It was some Lipton, you know. It wasn't like it wasn't loose herbs and infusions, but like that was her ritual. To have that tea. And she was just like a really important part of my life growing up. Like, I would say she like definitely helped raise me. It was just like a mom for me, like, a mom, or like mothered me in a lot of ways. So I started to think about doing it more after she passed, and like naming it after her and kind of honoring her, and it felt like it would be like co-creating something with her. And I was keeping that connection really close and really alive, and like keeping a kind of altar space for her. Like, that's the first time that I really like felt connected to an altar, because I felt so much like she was present. Like, I could feel her. I would dream about her. I would hear her voice in dreams, and it was just a very active connection still. So and did I say she passed in 2021? It wasn't. It was 2020. And actually, like, kind of like not really COVID related. Actually, like right before COVID even really like hit, but it was so close, in such close proximity. It was just like, and then all these other, like, and then everything else happened, and like, you know, grieving her was like changed by COVID, and like the things that we couldn't do, like the proper rituals, or like saying goodbye that would have happened if that hadn't happened. It was just like kind of coincidental, but it changed everything about how we could like send her off. So yeah, I felt very like it was so important to keep that connection. And yeah, lavender just like kind of came up, like it felt kind of randomly. I don't really remember why I was even growing lavender. I think I might have literally bought the plant at the Uhuru market, and just like cultivated it all summer, and it just felt really sweet, and like, yeah, that was kind of like a push.
Wow.
Even though it didn't come till 2 years later, but
wow.
you know, COVID made those 2 years feel like they flew by.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess losing her also, like, I guess activated maybe something, like things from my childhood that I knew her presence had made not easier, but just parts of my childhood that, like, she was so integral to, like, moments in my childhood that were really hard and traumatic and were still with me in ways that I wasn't really paying that much attention to, at least not, like, consciously, that became, like, came to the surface more when she was gone. It's like, oh, she held all these roles, or, like, yeah, helped me move through those times by just, like, being there and being who she was and being as nurturing as she was. Yeah, so that brought up a lot. And so, yeah, I was also, like, thinking about herbs more for, like, resolving or trying to, I don't know, not heal. Like, those things are always with me, but, like, process them, become more aware of them, and also, like, starting to see some of the connections between, like, physically things that happened to me and the emotional impacts they were having, and then the physical impact, like the physical implications for my health as well, or like I was starting to see how realizing the impact of, like, what was happening emotionally on my physical body, for lack of a better way of saying it. Yeah.
Wow.
And and more and more, like, turning to herbs, knowing, like, there's things happening with my body physically that can't really be explained, like chronic pain that is not really hasn't been addressed and can't seem to be addressed again by, like, conventional medicine, other than, like, suppressing things or, like, turning off certain signals in my body to just, like, desensitize me, versus, like, getting at helping me, like, uncover some of the emotional things, you know, along with other tools and practices. But, like, herbs felt more and more important for doing that work. Yeah.
Whoa.
And, like, chronic pain specifically related to, like, my reproductive system, my uterus, my period, my cycle, like, having monthly chronic debilitating pain. That's like, everyone's saying nothing physically is happening, like, you know, but there's something. So, yeah, I think I became more and more aware of that in these last 9 years, but also, like, after she passed, and just felt more of a push to, like, commit to my own recovery, and, like, commit to this as a, like, supporting other people, sharing the knowledge, getting the knowledge from my own self, and sharing it as, like, a part of my recovery. So it's also, like, self-inspired, like, it came from within in a lot of ways.
Like, you're responding to what you needed.
Yeah, what my body needed, what my spirit needed, and knowing, like, other people need this, other women need this, and you know, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm, like, learning a lot, and I want to be sharing it in real time, and learning from other people in real time too. So I don't know how much I should be shouting people out in this, but I was at the Uhuru market and talking to another herbalist in the city, Amani Shakati from Ancient Healing Teas, who, talking to her about herbalism and herbs to support myself, and more about like the connection between like what's happening emotionally for me and, you know, how that's manifesting in my body physically. So
that is like, I'm kind of struck still. It's very powerful, the story of your aunt. It's just like the power of her presence while she was in physical form, and like how that power transferred to just another way of holding such an important space for you to like just be with maybe heavier material that's harder to process alone. And I'm like really struck by that, and it's making me think of the power of herbs physically and spiritually, and energetically. Just hearing you talk about like how your aunt is able to, you're able to sort of maintain that connection at a time when, like you said, during COVID, when those connections, so many of those connections were severed, like you were able to still sort of honor her through this relationship with herbs. Is like, that's really hitting home right now, and it's just making me think of like myself as an auntie, and just trusting that like sometimes our presence is enough. Is to speak to this process of like repair that we're inside of, like just being here is enough. Very powerful.
Well, I'll just say a word. I mean, like another push. There's another push, which was like starting to grow herbs. Then like I was growing herbs kind of at home. And with one of my friends that have been part of the sister circle, like talking about growing and kind of checking on each other's plants sometimes. Then I started growing more in community spaces, like, you know, decidedly Black urban farming spaces. And one of the first spaces that I did that at was the Peace Parks, the West Philly Peace Park. And at that time I was just like learning more from growing in community with people, growing food and herbs in community, and studying more about like the history of Black people's connection to land. And so
no, but I'm feeling the lineage. Like you're mapping the lineage.
The lineage of like just what I was learning from other herbalists, other growers, and about the history of like Black folks being the theft of land from Black growers, basically, you know, after slavery. Black folks who own land, occupied land, who were chased off of their land, or, you know, vulnerable to losing land under Jim Crow, you know, criminalized for foraging on land to sustain themselves, ourselves, even like experiencing the effects of like predatory lending, and, you know, in my own family. Like I saw my grandmother who owned homes and grew food, like after the housing crisis and all these things, like not have a home anymore and have to really downsize and can't really grow anymore. And so I started to become more aware of that history. And so a big part of the Lavender Room, what it is and will be, is about growing, like, again, engaging with the live plant in its element, in its natural state, or learning to cultivate plants, learning to live with them, among them. That's a big part of the project too. So yeah, that history and lineage is also there, and kind of like gave me the last push, like, oh, we need this space to grow medicine together. Like, Black people should get to do that.
Yo.
We do get to do that. Like, we have the tools, we have the knowledge, we have the knowledge as like agrarian people, agricultural people, healers, all those things that we were before and are still, and just like tapping back into that lineage, and having autonomy over our food, but also over our medicine and our nourishment, and all the things that we get from plants for so many reasons. Yeah. Self-sufficiency being one. Collective and self-sufficiency, I guess. Yeah.
This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation. This is a station for reparation.